You're going to learn the perfect setup for online piano lessons over Zoom, both the physical setup and the little tweaks you need to make, whether you're on computer, iPad, or phone. So whether you're already in online lessons and you're kind of struggling with the sound and the setup, or you're just kind of curious about how online lessons work, this video is going to show you everything you need to know. And if you're new here, my name's Jonathan, and on this channel we provide practical tutorials to help you improve at the piano faster. We'll start by looking at the computer setup for Zoom. And first, in terms of physical setup, it's very straightforward. No need for extra equipment or fancy placements. All your teacher needs to give a solid piano lesson is a nice side view of yourself and the piano. If you have to cut something off, cutting off a little bit of your head so your teacher has a good view of your hands is totally fine. This part I would say is the most important. And in terms of getting the device at the proper height, there are a couple options. If you have a nice table that's of the appropriate height, that works great. Some people have used ironing boards. Whatever works, just get your device up high enough so that your teacher has a side view of yourself and the keyboard. Sometimes we'll have students put the iPad like here, so it's like a face-to-face view. That's okay, but the ideal, again, is to have this side view so we have a nice view of yourself and your hands at the keyboard. Next, you want to make sure that you have your sound settings set up. Otherwise, it's important to remember that Zoom was originally conceived as an audio conferencing platform, so it's kind of natively designed to cut out anything that it thinks isn't talking, and it's also set up to kind of crush the sound so that if there's a quiet person talking, it brings it up, and if there's a loud person, it brings it down, so everything's equal. So these settings I'm going to show you are going to sort of override that specifically for musicians so that your teacher can hear you when you're playing your piano. Otherwise, that sound is going to get crushed pretty severely. And so on the desktop, it's pretty simple. You should see a window kind of like this. And then to change that setting, you're just going to click this little up arrow next to the microphone. Then you'll click Audio Settings, that first option there at the bottom. And then you should see a screen that looks like this. And from here, you're going to go down to Audio Profile and change this setting to Original Sound for Musicians. And then with these three check boxes, for most people, you'll leave all three checked. You definitely want high fidelity music mode checked. And then echo cancellation, if you're using the sound from your actual computer, you definitely want to have that checked. Otherwise, you'll end up hearing yourself on the other end. But if you're using headphones or some kind of external audio device like a speaker or something like that, you can uncheck that if you want. But for most people, we'll leave that checked. And then, of course, you want stereo audio so that we can hear the lows and the highs with a proper stereo input and output. So that's not the end of the settings yet, but you're going to click this, all three checkboxes, and then you can leave this. And now notice we have a new button up here in the top right that says Original Sound for Musicians, and it says off. It's important to know whatever this says, on or off, that's what you're currently in. So if it says Original Sound for Musicians off, that means it's currently off. It used to be the opposite, but now whatever it says, that's what you're actually in. So to turn Original Sound for Musicians on, you just click that. Now it says on, and notice it says noise suppression is disabled. That means it's not going to suppress any sounds, so that when you play the piano, your teacher on the other end will be able to hear it nice and clearly. And then once you close Zoom and open it back up again, this button should remain here, but the default is to turn that back off. So every time you start a new piano lesson or every time you start a new Zoom session, you want to make sure you check that and make sure that you click on. And then once you have those settings, you should be good to go for your online Zoom lesson on your computer. And then if for any reason you're seeing something different than what's here in the video, just make sure your Zoom application is updated to the latest version. Next, we're going to take a look at the settings for iPad. It's very similar, though not necessarily super intuitive. So you're on your Zoom call, you have your iPad set up next to you with a good view of yourself and your hands at the keyboard. So first you're going to tap the screen to bring up these options at the bottom, and then you're going to look for those three little dots that say More. So that's right next to the Leave button in the bottom right. And then from there, somewhere in the middle, you'll see an option that says Audio Settings. And then from here, it's just very simple. You're just going to change from Noise Removal to Original Sound for Musicians, and then you should be all set. Nothing else you need to do. So literally, again, just three dots, More, Audio Settings, change this to Original Sound for Musicians, and you'll be good to go for your online lesson on iPad. And then finally, we'll take a look at how to set everything up if you're doing a lesson on your phone. This is probably our least recommended device. If you have to use a phone, fine, but we usually don't recommend phone when other options are available, just because if your teacher needs to demonstrate some things, or especially if they need to screen share a score, or the sheet music to be able to point out some things, that can be really hard to see on the smaller screen. But if you're doing a lesson on the phone, it's basically the same as the iPad iPad, once again, you're going to tap that screen, and then just because the phone's smaller, you're going to have to scroll over at the bottom over to More. So all the way on the right, bottom right corner, so you'll tap that. And then once again, towards the middle, you have your audio settings. And then from here, you're just going to change the setting to original sound for musicians, and then you'll tap done. And just a reminder, these settings for all devices don't necessarily stick from one Zoom session to the next. So just as part of your routine as you get online for your online piano lesson, just make sure you have that original sound on and you'll be good to go. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and if this has your interest piqued as an adult learner who's been looking to get back into lessons but maybe can't make the weekly commitment of regular lessons, be sure to grab the link below. That's a link to our online membership platform, 88 Keys Online, where you can get live Zoom instruction with me and the other teachers here at South Shore Piano School, as well as on-demand video content and discussion boards. Pretty much everything that you could need for your piano journey from the comfort of your own home, all at a fraction of the cost of regular lessons. So grab the link below. That's a 14-day free trial, absolutely no commitment. Check it out. I'd love to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.